When you think about it, you could not have got a bigger backlash earlier this year on social media than the alleged comedian Dawn French. She of one half, of course, of French and Saunders, the comedy duo from the 80s and 90s. And consequently, they've had huge success, even going into radio and podcasts and stuff like that. And then Dawn decided to offend her many fans, some might suggest, by putting out something of a whinging video. She could not have foreseen, apparently, what was going to happen. And then everybody was basically saying that's it, her career's over, and consequently, people would now not be going to buy her books or going to see her one-woman stage show, or indeed, where was the now collaboration between Jennifer Saunders and Dawn French? But then M&S decided to do this. As ever, let me explain. Morning, good to see you, chums. Thank you so much for your time. Welcome, one and all. And it's interesting, isn't it? As we career towards Christmas, sorry, we'll have a lovely wave. As we career towards Christmas, what's interesting is now you get all the ads, don't you? And I think I said this previously, but I don't know about you, I am only geared by price, right? I mean, ultimately, I look at the price and I think, yeah, yes or no. It doesn't sway me when I see a nice Christmas ad, whether it be John Lewis or Aldi, Lidl, whatever, and think, oh, I must dash in there. And what I find fascinating is, yes, they're very nicely produced and curated and all the food looks nice, but it boils down to one thing, doesn't it? Can we afford it? Can you afford the Christmas turkey? Could you afford a beef or whatever, leg of lamb, whatever your choice is? When you look at the eye-watering prices of Marks and Spencer's, it's incredible. And they are now one of the most shoplifted supermarkets up and down the United Kingdom. I mean, that is a fact. Interesting to note, one of the most shoplifted places also is Greggs the Bakers, right? I mentioned this a couple of weeks back. I mean, the amount of theft that goes on in Greggs that I see on a daily basis just in London is incredible, and nobody stops them. They have security on the door. What is the point of security if you're just going to let these people pass? You get the picture. What is the point, though, of Dawn French? Well, Dawn, as I say, is now back fronting this year's Christmas, ad, whatever you want to call it, for the leading retailer of food at Christmas, Marks and Spencer. And everybody said she was going to be fired and that was it, and etc. But she was kept on. Now, there are two theories to this, and this is, when you dig a little deeper, you think, okay, the original deal for Dawn French did not run out until next year. They were so keen on this particular individual to be their front-facing person. And remember, a very similar backlash happened at Boots the Chemist last year when they used that particular actress, who famously then said at the coronation, it's a terribly white balcony. And then the ad came and it was very, very anti-everything, remember? And of course, Boots, well, everybody wasn't going to go there. You know my thoughts on Boots already, but you see what I mean. Dawn French, though, apparently managed to secure this particular role again on two levels. The fact that the contract wasn't totally ended, and do they pay off a large amount of money or do they continue? Now, the bosses at Marks and Spencer's had a roundtable meeting and they decided that this was nothing more than a storm in a social media teacup. And basically, you and I, it didn't really matter. We'll come back anyway because the product's that good. Basically, that was the banal chat, right? The other side of it is, quite frankly, that the CEO of Marks and Spencer's is a huge French and Saunders fan. And so consequently, these are the people that make the decisions about what you see and whether you're offended or not. Now, as I said, Dawn French then issued this grovelling sort of thing about, oh, she was sorry, she didn't realise, blah, 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 right? But was that truly enough? This is the same Dawn, of course, that is asking you to trust in the British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, because she sees that, well, he was great. She just felt that he could be trusted. So Dawn's judgment, perhaps not the best, right? But according to M&S, they think she's terrific. They're more than happy with their major campaign of the year, of which they've paid Dawn an excessive six-figure sum, right, for this. Again, I have to say, allegedly. And the bottom line is that you will be, well, paying for that if you shop at Marks and Spencer's, because as you see the eye-watering amounts of money that this year's festive food costs, well, apparently seeing Dawn French, who's offended so many on screen, well, it makes it all worthwhile, doesn't it? Well, does it? Merry Christmas, M&S. Neil Sean, Kensington, London.